Hey there, and welcome back to the IAS Market Talk podcast with Innovative Ag Services. This week, our beef production specialist, David Rueber, is talking about a wild ride in the cattle market. Big drops, big rebounds, and what's driving it all. Let's jump in.
David Rueber, Beef Production Specialist for Innovative Ag Services, calling with a beef market commentary for August 13th. Boy, if you want to pick a high or a low, you could certainly go in both directions the past week here. Last Friday, the board tanked. Live cattle were down $6, feeder cattle down $9, one of the biggest losses we've seen in quite some time. Then the market comes rallying back. And the other thing is that was down last Friday after being up all week last week. So, it wasn't as big a deal as what it could have been just because the market had been up 4 days in a row before that. So what we do, we sold cash cattle last week. I would have called it fairly steady, 240 to 245. There was other parts of the country getting a little bit more money than what we were getting last week. We had more cattle in that 241, 242 range. So, we roll into this week. There's 245 bids out there already. The board has had a bit of a wild ride again this week, up pretty strong yesterday, up just a little bit today. The big news probably was the government report on corn, high yields, high carryout, high acres, cheap corn. Corn was down 15 cents for a chunk of the day yesterday, closed down 12 or 13. You can buy corn in the threes. You sell corn, it's in the mid threes. Cost of gains just keep going lower. Now there's talk of cost of gains for sure can be in the 80s, and some people think they can get those cost of gains down into the 70s. If you punch in $40 a ton gluten and $50 a ton hay and $3.60 corn, yeah, you can get that cost of gain pretty darn low, lowest we've seen in years. So, some of that just kind of depends on how we want to value things. So fat cattle this week feels like kind of a steady, maybe a little stronger into certain markets, but somewhere in the low to mid 240s. Meat prices $3.85. Box beef was up big yesterday, up $9, kind of flattening out a little bit today. Feeder cattle just keep marching higher. A good 8-weight steer will be 340s, pushing 350. 9-weight steers in the 330s. 600-pound steers, $4 or higher. Some of these 5-weight steers, $4.50. Feeder cattle just are not going to cheapen up until the runs pick up, say early October. They're going to stay high. There's not enough of them out there. That price will stay, and it's been marching higher. Break evens $2.30, give or take a little bit, depending on where you're pricing corn at. So that's got some wild rides. Some of those deferred futures come up quite a bit. There's actually a little bit of hedgeability in some of these cattle getting bought. So some things to watch there, but yeah, it's a roller coaster. Just buckle up because it's going to be a little rough. Once again, my name is David Rueber, Beef Production Specialist for Innovative Ag. Thank you.
Thanks, David, and thanks to all of you for tuning in to IAS Market Talk. For more updates and insights, head over to innovativeag.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm Shelby Wartek, and we'll catch you next time.